Thank you for joining us on the Winning at Selling podcast. I'm Professor Scott Plum of the Minnesota Sales Institute, and with me is Bill Hellkamp of Reach Development Systems.
What we say and how we say it can affect both our meaning and our client's reaction to it. There's a big difference to the statements, "Let's eat, Grandma," and "Let's eat, Grandma." But if you don't think through what you want to say, you may not be communicating correctly. So let's see if Scott and I can communicate correctly as we discuss how to choose your words carefully and other great ideas on episode 488 of the Winning at Selling podcast.
Great opening. I was thinking about a story that I heard from somebody that tweeted or text or something like that, and it was no thank you. And it came across as being negative, no thank you, but it was no, comma, thank you. Very thoughtful. So punctuation is very important when it comes to communication. And just in the statement, "Let's eat, Grandma," punctuation is really important. And the emphasis.
And emphasis when you say it. That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
So
excellent.
Looking forward to getting to that topic. And Bill and I are going to exchange different words that, maybe give us a little bit of a cringe. And maybe ones that we're just like, oh, I just love that word. So before we do that, we're going to jump into our book study. The book is Sales Jiu-Jitsu. So I'm really getting good at that word.
You got it now.
I am. Right. Yeah. The Secret Black Belt System for Champion Leaders. And we're going to be covering section 1. Chapter 2 is on intelligence. And one of the opening lines of the chapter, and I really believe this, is one of the biggest problems within most sales departments is a lack of insight sharing. And it's salespeople sharing information through their experiences with the team.
Well, when would they ever have the chance to do that? We have a sales meeting, and then we don't talk to each other, and we ride along with the.
We don't talk to each other. Listen to this. How many sales conversations are at the water cooler? Yeah. Well, that's when we were all in person.
Bragging.
What do we do now?
Oh,
we're working from home. We're working remote. Working remote. So
I'm great.
I think salespeople do love to one-up each other. And sometimes that's where some of the insights can be shared. But I think it's also up to sales leadership on sharing, news from the trenches. What's going on out on the sales team? Sales leadership needs to know what the salespeople are going through so that the company and the leaders of the company can maintain their market presence, maintain their market share, and be relevant in the market. And who's going to direct all that information? Salespeople sharing it up the chain of command.
Right.
And most salespeople think all sales leadership does is tell me what to do and criticize the things that I don't do. No, that's not true. Salespeople have got to come to a meeting and share some of their insights and what they're learning from the trenches. So that's where I think
Daniel told us in the interview, he has an hour-long sales meeting every day. And about 10 minutes of that is going through your numbers, and 45 to 50 minutes of it is practice and talking about what you're doing and what's working, how we can be better, and training. And I think that's a big part of his philosophy.
Mm-hmm. That is a very good investment of time. And as long as salespeople are coming to those meetings and they're submitting information, they're asking for feedback, and they're applying the feedback, it's a great investment of time. But sometimes salespeople show up for meetings and they just want to be told what to do.
Or
that happens.
They want to just go get on the phone or get on the.
Yeah.
I think there's too much of let's just get started and not enough. Let's figure out what we're going to do to start with.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a fine balance. You don't want to spend your whole day thinking about, that first phone call you're going to make and doing some pre-approach and never get around to the phone call. But you also want to do some thoughtful measurement and thoughtful preparation. So I know that's what he's talking about in here. Now, I like that he's got, and they do this over and over in the chapter. Each chapter has 3 sub-chapters or 3 subsections in it. And in this one, it's history, future, and key data. So those are kind of the 3 subsections in this one.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Very good structure to it. I kind of included all my notes, the highlights of the chapter, so I don't remember what section I'm talking about.
Well, that's because you ball it all together.
Yeah, I do.
And I need to see this. I need to see the structure. So you and I are very different that way.
Yeah, well,
Well, let me start it off because the history talks about that we need to understand our industry and our organization's unique place in it. So what's our value proposition? What's going on in the industry? And then what you were talking about, we need to be willing to share effective openings and questions with other sales reps.
Mm-hmm. Very true. One of the things I think this is from the history is that the jujitsu. Now I'm digressing. I'm digressing. The jujitsu is the art of adaptability.
Yeah,
and I think that's what sales jobs are is adapting. And when we're adapting, we have to be thinking on our feet. We have to be nimble. We have to be curious. We have to be interested. We have to be passionate, and we need to have wonder. And change begins with wonder. No wonder, no change. I mean, we're perfectly content with where we are. We're not asking curious questions about really understanding, what do we know we don't know? That's a question I think that salespeople need to constantly be thinking of when they're working with a prospect, when it comes to product knowledge and when it comes to sales process. What do I know that I don't know? Because once we start,
you don't know what you don't know, and that's what the sharing is supposed to be about.
Exactly.
Right? I can't be adaptable if I've only got one process. If I only have one set of questions, if I only have one opening, if I only have one way to go, I can't adapt if the maze is one solid hallway and I hope the client goes along with me. And that's what having, in this case, daily practices that he advises, where you try out different things to see how they come off your mouth and how they come off your tongue and if they work. I can't tell you the number of people I've tried to teach how to do a speech who don't want to give the speech. They want to do it all in their mind. It's like, no, it doesn't sound right. Do it out loud. It's uncomfortable. So it's the same thing. You run into this, salespeople who don't want to do any kind of role play.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, I don't want to do that because
I know how to do it. I when I get on the phone, I'll do it.
When I get with the client, I'll do it just right. Hey, that's the last time you want to be practicing, is when you finally get in front of that client.
Yeah. I heard a great saying: professionals practice in private, period. Yeah. And we just need to be able to commit to the time of practicing in private.
I don't think most salespeople practice at all. I think they take their sales class, they go on ride-alongs with the sales manager, and they deconstruct what they did, and maybe they learn a little bit from it, and there you go.
Right, exactly. So the next part, they talk about future, this section of the chapter, and that's really looking at trends in the marketplace, what information is available in the marketplace, and how do we use that information. And here's what we need to keep in mind as salespeople, is that we want to educate to influence, not educate to teach. Too often salespeople read information and go, okay, well, I know that. Well, how are you going to use that? Right. How can you leverage that information so that you're creating an impact and influence in how they behave, how prospects behave, how they make the purchasing decisions, and how you can insert yourself into that in order to challenge them so that you change them. If you don't challenge them, you don't change them.
I've worked with a couple of different companies that have equipment for working at height, and they're very tied into when legislation happens in different states and different countries, what that legislation is. Their equipment, their harnesses all have to meet with those legislative recommendations. But when that legislation changes, it can open the doors to a lot of new business for them. And so they really need to tie into that. And so what's going on in that industry, what's going to happen in the future that you can take advantage of as a group, not as, I thought of this and I'm just going to keep this to myself.
Right. Yeah. And that legislation can create increased budgets in companies because they have to pay for it. They have to buy it.
Magic budget that comes along.
Yeah. I wonder if there's a lobbyist behind some of those rules and laws that are changed at the state and national level. I'm sure there are.
Yeah, I think there certainly are.
Yeah. The last part is on the key data. Right. So this is a formula that I really like. It's 5R plus 5M equals C. The 5R is that there's 5 points of research that you need to do before you step on the mat with the sales prospect. So you can, during the first 5 minutes, 5M of the call, to connect a true trust and rapport. Yeah. So 5R plus 5M equals C, and C is connect.
Yeah. Good. A local speaker that we have here, Sam Richter, does a great job on sales intelligence and really teaches how to use the Google and online resources to really find out those 5 R's and do it quickly. And that's really the key, isn't it, Scott? I can't spend 2 hours doing a little bit of research. I've got to get good enough at it that I can go in and find 1 or 2 or 3 hooks. He uses 5 hooks to 5 things that you find out. one of which you might be able to use then in that first 5 minutes and create a connection with that new prospect.
Yeah. Yeah. In some sales conversations, the salesperson needs to be able to identify a safe word with the prospect. So sometimes that's part of the conversation is, should we establish a safe word before we get into it?
I know you need that in your conversations.
I do, because I really get it anyway. For those of you playing along at home, thanks for laughing. So some of the things that he looked at to find that information is Google, Facebook, YouTube, LinkedIn, company websites, and the one that he really liked the most, and I totally agree with him, is number 6, is a referral. If you happen to know someone connected to your prospects, you can ask them for data or information that you need in order to make that introduction. And that's going to really shorten that sales cycle and that period of getting together with a prospect so that you can share information.
Yeah, I think this is a real important chapter about doing that research and sharing that information with other people in your organization so that you can do a better job.
Yeah. So know what information you want, and then figure out the questions that you're going to ask to get the information that you want, because you have to know what you don't know. And through that conversation, like Bill said, you're going to become familiar with the unknowns that you need to know, that Excellent. You don't know how to ask, but you got to start with knowing what you don't know.
All right. Yeah. So we do have our book giveaway, Sales Jiu-Jitsu. We're giving away 2 books each week, and that's by Elliot Bayev and Daniel Moskowitz. Go to winningatselling.com. All you need to do, ask a question, say hello, or just say, I want to be put in the book drawing. It's really easy. And I got to tell you, if you want to get a book, do it right now, because we don't have a lot of people early on, but then we get more and more names. And so it gets harder to win. So if you're in early, you have many, many chances to win, because we keep your name for the whole contest. So go on to winningatselling.com and send us a note that you want to be in the book drawing. This week's winners, Anita Gakis and Eric Michelet. Anita Gakis and Eric Michelet. Congratulations, Anita and Eric. I'll be reaching out to you to get your contact information, your mailing, so I can mail that book out to you. Congratulations.
This segment is brought to you by the Professional Sales Association and the special event in January, Accelerate 2022.
Start the new year with Accelerate 2022, a great half-day selling seminar hosted by PSA, the Professional Sales Association. The keynote speakers are Daniel Moskowitz and Elliot Bayev, authors of the international bestseller, Sales Jiu-Jitsu, The Secret Black Belt System for Champion Leaders. They will be presenting 4 black belt strategies to double your conversion rate. Also presenting will be social media expert Jennifer Radke, who will present Expanded Social Media Equals More Customers. Accelerate 2022 will be held from 8 a.m. to noon on Friday, January 7th at the Doubletree in Bloomington, Minnesota. Admission is $99 and includes breakfast. Also, the first 30 people to buy tickets will get a copy of the book Sales Jiu-Jitsu. So get your tickets now. Learn more at psamn.org. That's psamn.org.
All right, our topic today is choose your words carefully, as Bill and I started off with on today's session. So get out your notepads.
Let's eat grandma.
Yeah.
Let's eat grandma. When I was teaching another program, not my own, we used to do a thing called I Never Said He Stole Money.
Right.
And have you ever seen that? You just change the emphasis on each word, and it changes. I never said he stole money. I never said he stole money.
Yeah.
I never said he stole money.
Right.
I never said he stole money. I never said he stole money. I never said he stole money.
Right.
And each time you put the emphasis on a different word, it changes the whole meaning. And that's not even choosing your words. That's just choosing your emphasis.
Yeah.
Right. So inflection can change.
Prospect doesn't know what the abbreviation or the jargon means. You're going to get 2 different types of responses. Men are not going to ask because they do not want to acknowledge that they don't know. Women are more curious, so they will ask and they'll learn what they don't know. Men will just go, I don't care what he's talking about. I don't know what he's talking about, and I'm not going to talk to him again. And that's it. And that's a real rapport killer when men are talking about abbreviations and one doesn't know what it means. So just another
You've
application
always got
of
to
that.
explain them. You can't assume it, even if they're in the same industry you are. You just can't assume. So If I use the abbreviation PSA, I'll often say Professional Sales Association. Then I can use that abbreviation over and over again because I've explained it once now. So be careful of those. How about you? What's something that you don't like?
Well, for those that are playing along at home, my word help is one that I don't like very
I've
much.
never heard that before.
I need to repeat it more often then. I like the word work with in replace of help, unless, of course, the prospect says, can you help me? Or will you help me? Or have you helped other people like me before?
Well, tell me, why is it that you don't like the word help? Because we use it an awful lot.
We do. And I think one of the goal in a conversation is to build mutual consent and to build a mutual commitment. And mutual consent says that we are mutually agreeing to proceed. And a mutual commitment is that we are mutually committing to the same goal. And when I take a step, you take a step. When you take a step, I take a step. Another reason is prospects hate to lose control. And if a salesperson comes in and says, I'm here to help you, it's almost saying to the prospect, I'm taking over and I'm not going to tell you what's going on, but I'm going to take the lead and you're just going to have to follow along. Prospects don't like to lose control. And another thing is that you are enabling your prospects not to be mutually committed. And if you're working with a prospect as a salesperson, you know that they need to contribute information and follow through on commitments in order for things to be launched and implemented on time to reach the desired results that both of you are anticipating and expecting. But if you're not both mutually committed to it, it's going to be emphasis on one person. One person is going to feel frustrated because they're more committed than the other person. And eventually there's going to lead to some frustration and maybe things are not going to be launched correctly. Plus, I think salespeople enable prospects not to do things. And when you enable a prospect not to do something and they have to do something in order to change something or to follow through on a commitment, salespeople take the risk of prospects not following through, and then salespeople lose the sale because it doesn't get implemented. Just because a contract was signed doesn't mean it's going to be implemented. Those are my reasons. So thanks for asking.
Don't fall off that pedestal.
That's going to happen too. All right.
Well, I mentioned it in a recent podcast, and that is, I'm very leery if they say I'm from the government and I'm here to help.
I'm here to help you.
Yeah. So be careful of that. So people that want to help you usually want to help themselves.
If you like your doctor, you can keep your doctor.
Oh, I've heard that before. All right. I think you want to stay away from anything that talks about sales or selling, convincing, pushing, make, or things that sound salesy, like today only, or buy now or else, right? And because I think all those different feelings, you don't want people to think they're in a selling situation. They know it, but you don't want to keep bringing it up because the idea of being sold to, kind of like your idea of helping, can turn customers off and put them on the defensive. So I would say be careful of terms that sound salesy.
Yeah. And deadlines are important, and deadlines can create some urgency with it, but you don't want to leverage a deadline to put pressure on somebody. And if you're selling a subscription and you're discounting the price at the beginning, guess what? Your prospect's always going to expect to pay that lower price on something. So don't be surprised when you set that precedent. And
once you've lowered the price,
acknowledge it.
Once you've lowered the price, they're not going to look and say, hey, well, that only good for 2 weeks.
I'd rather pay more.
You told me it was this month, and as a customer, you can get that price from them again. So once you've lowered it, it's lower.
Yeah. I love the word consider. Consider is causing a prospect to transition into a state of contemplation where they're imagining a solution being applied that can give them some ideas on what outcome they're expecting. But if they don't consider something, they're not stepping into the process of change. So that's one of the ones that I really like is the word consider.
Well, I think consider sounds as if you're asking them to make a decision in their own time and in their own way. I'd like you to consider this idea. I'd like you to be open-minded in this, in thinking about this. And I don't really want to challenge you directly. So I think that's a valuable word as well.
Yeah. Yeah. And once they start thinking about it, then it's in the process of changing. And then you can just say, I'm kind of curious, why would you want to wait on getting these type of results after you've considered a solution that's going to give them to you?
Right. Excellent. Okay. I want you to be careful about using testimonials that miss the mark. I think about back in the 80s when Coke and Pepsi were really going at it with their commercials and their spend. If I were in a business that were providing a service to Pepsi, I don't think I would go into Coke and say, "Hey, Pepsi's using us, so you should use us too," because I think they would see that they can't do the same thing Pepsi's doing and get ahead. They need to do something different than what Pepsi's doing and get ahead. I think you can also be careful that you aren't saying, "Hey, look, we're doing business with your biggest competitor." Well, I don't know if you guys can keep your mouth shut if you're doing business with both of us. So I'm always leery to have 2 or 3 companies in the same industry that might be competing with each other and using those as testimonials. So I would encourage people to be careful and think long and hard about the testimonials they're using, if there might be something going on that could be a negative or seen as a negative by using it.
Yeah, I think a great way to reposition that is to say, we don't compete, we lead. We're the leaders in the industry and everybody else competes with us. And that puts yourself in a different position when you're working with a prospect.
Yeah, I think so. But I think what I'm talking about is the prospect itself, seeing your solution as redundant because their competitor has it. So I think it's kind of a different angle on that. All right. What's another word that you don't like or do
I like to replace the word if with when. If you were writing an email or a promotional brochure, something, and then you say, if you ever have this happen, give us a call. No, how about you say, when this happens, give us a call. So it's almost like telling them that they're eventually going to be calling you, or it's inevitable that they call you. It's not if, it's when. We've all heard that before.
That's kind of like the assumptive close.
It is.
Right?
It is.
When do you want to do this? Not if. Do you want to meet with me? It's like, when would you prefer to meet with me? Tuesday or Thursday?
Right.
So I love the alternate close. It's probably my favorite close, is to give people options. All of those options I'm happy to work with them on, and it just moves them in that direction. And if they want to refuse, they can refuse. But if they have 2 positive options, chances are they'll choose one of those.
Right.
That kind of goes into my next one, which is to stay positive. Talk in positive terms, be upbeat, be uplifting. Don't be a sad sack or an Eeyore when you come in. How's it going? Oh, I guess it's okay. I think salespeople are required to bring up the level of energy when they come in there. That doesn't mean you need to bounce off the walls, but the words you use, the attitude you have can create a positive atmosphere, and a positive atmosphere, things get done. Negative atmosphere, I don't think they get done.
Right. Very true. So I like the difference will versus can. And I always like working with salespeople that will do something versus can do something. And I think a lot of people can do it, but will they do it is really the question that I wonder and ask about. And I think prospects are thinking the same thing when they're working with salespeople.
Yeah, I think you're getting into what I call weak words. And I live in Minnesota, so do you. We're famous for our weak words that we use: try, maybe, wanna, could, should. And so a sentence coming from a Minnesotan sometimes could be, "Hey, Scott, you want to maybe someday try and perhaps get together if it's not too much trouble?"
I would lose it if you did that with me, Bill. I would just go, whoa.
I'm much more into Yoda, who says, do or do not, there is no try. Just say what you mean, say it strong, use words that are convincing and not words that are weak. And I think that's what you're replacing can or maybe or if with other words.
Right. So true. One of my favorite words when talking with a prospect is, if a prospect doesn't ask you a question and they stop talking, use the word and, or you must be telling me that for a reason. Do you mind sharing it with me? And now you're really getting into more information. If you're silent and a prospect continues to talk, you've established that trust and rapport, because now they're really getting into the essence of the conversation and they're giving you the information that they want you to know. This is a very critical time in a conversation, is when you are silent, don't say anything. Or if you say, and, the conversation continues, and I'm telling you, you're getting pearls out of your prospect at that time. Valuable information.
Yeah, we've talked about this before, I believe, as you do in the short question. And
yeah,
really? Oh
Mm.
my, tell me
Yeah.
more. All
Right.
those things. You don't have to have this big, long, complex question every time. Tilt your head to the side and say, really? And all of a sudden they're going to tell you a lot. So use that. And my last one then is to don't lie or obfuscate. You're not trying to avoid the truth. If you do, you will get caught. You will get found out. You will cause problems. If they ask you a straight question, can you do this? And you can't, you got to tell them no and have a better solution, or ask them a question. Why would you want to do that? But you cannot say we can do something when you can't do it, or even get the feeling that you're going to be able to do something when you know it's not something that you do well. So be careful on that. Salespeople, they get into that. It's the last day of the month and my boss is really pushing me, and that pressure can make you not be truthful. And I think you need to be truthful.
Yeah. Very true. Good stuff, Bill. Great words.
All right. Well, we want to just encourage you, if you're in the Minneapolis area, to come to that PSA meeting on January 7th, the Accelerate 2022. We're going to have great speakers there, great networking, great breakfast. So go to winningatselling.com for more information.
Our golden nugget today is from John Wooden, the famous UCLA basketball coach. So it's one of my favorite people to quote. And this quote is going to change, some of the things that I've done in the past, because I've concentrated a little bit too much on reputation when I should be concentrating on character. So the quote is, be more concerned with your character than your reputation, because your character is what you really are, while your reputation is merely what others think you are. And I think we need to focus on character, because
maybe we should read a book on character. Oh,
there is, isn't there? Yeah. We've done that.
We just finished that. All right.
Yeah.
Excellent quote. Yes. Go to winningatselling.com for any kind of contact information, links, and for the chance to sign up for the book giveaway, Sales Jiu-Jitsu by Elliot Bayev and Daniel Muskowitz. We're giving away 2 books each week. And the earlier you do it, the more chances you have to win a book. We'd really encourage you to go online and just send us a note, ask a question, say hello.
Next week, we're going to be covering Section 1, Pre-Fight, Chapter 3, Strategy. And our topic is going to be converting quotes into commitments.
Go out and get better, one skill at a time.
Joyful selling.